Hello, Regnum Christi Ontario members and friends, and welcome to another segment of Have You Met? Today I'm here with Tawnya Arsenault. Tawnya served as a consecrated lay missionary for over 20 years, serving Canada, the USA, Mexico, Chile, and the Philippines. She's organized and directed retreats for all ages and workshops as well, and she has a passion for the youth, especially the formating Catholic youth lay leaders. Recently, she's left the consecrated life and she's now here serving our locality. Welcome, Tawnya.
Thank you, Veronica.
Tawnya, it is such a pleasure to know you and to have you here today. I know I've only known you a short period of time, but in the short time, I can consider you a very close friend. So I want to know all about you because you've had such an interesting and adventurous life. So tell me, I'm going to go all the way to the beginning. Tell me what brought you to the calling of consecrated life.
Oh, thank you for the question, Veronica. Actually, it's a very good memory that I have of the Lord calling me to give my life to Him, to serve Him. I felt the calling when I was around 18 years old. But I could even trace it back to when I was a child, that when my parents came to first know the Lord, I was about 10 years old, and I experienced such a close friendship with Jesus that I knew that my life would be spent sharing my love for Jesus with other people. But I wanted to get married and have a big family. So the consecrated life definitely was not in the cards. I learned about the religious and consecrated life as I got older, when I was in university. And what attracted me so much was the formation, the fact of living your life solely for Jesus, and being able to spend all my time doing what I was most passionate about, which was sharing Christ, my love for Christ. So when my brother and I both met Regnum Christi and the Legionaries, I felt at home. I guess that's the plain and simple answer. So when I was 21, in my second year of university, I was discerning, praying a lot about where the Lord was leading me next. I was thinking about volunteering a year someplace. I was looking into the Mission Corps program with Regnum Christi. Although I didn't really know the movement, I had just heard about it. Something was tugging on my heart, so I began to ask the Lord to give me a sign. And that was when, in 1993, my brother and I went to World Youth Day in Denver. We saw Pope John Paul II with our youth group. And there I asked the Lord, I gave him that week. And I said, "You've got to show me what you want me to do with my life in this week," right? And I experienced a tremendous calling to something high, something great. Actually, it was an outdoor talk or conference with Bishop Sam Jacobs, who's from Louisiana. And my brother and I both stood up during a vocational calling. And I took the year to discern through prayer, frequenting the sacraments, spiritual direction, and going to a vocational retreat with the consecrated women of Regnum Christi. And there I decided to go to their summer candidacy program, and that's where I took my first, my temporary vows to give my life to Christ. So it was a great adventure for me, and I sensed that at that moment that is where the Lord was truly leading me. All the signs pointed to there.
That is so beautiful, and it sounds so fulfilling. Like it feels like God just filled your bucket like immensely. So take me into your consecrated life. You've done so many apostolates. We probably don't have the time to cover them all, but tell me about your one or two favorite apostolates.
Mm-hmm. Veronica, I agree that we don't have time to cover them all. So I do have a couple that filled my bucket to the brim. All right, just as a side note, when my brother and I joined Regnum Christi and the Legion, we really didn't know what the movement was. We were following a calling from the Lord to dedicate our lives to Him. And it was through the movement and the Legion that we found that calling, or that we discovered the path. So once I was consecrated, I began to learn what the movement was and all of these apostolates, and to understand, like, for example, what ECYD was. I had no clue. I even failed my ECYD exam when I was in formation. So I had to redo the exam, for example. And that was like the most of us who had just begun. In the States and in Canada, we are just founding the movement. Anyway, once I got a little more into my life, one of my greatest desires for an apostolate came true, and it was actually going out on a road team. So I traveled with another consecrated woman. I did this for over the course of between 4 and 6 years in different places.
Wow.
So I first was on a road team for 4 years in a row in the northwest of the States and Canada, and we were covering 4 provinces and 4 states. We were on the road constantly every week in a different bed, flying, driving. We had cars in different cities. We stayed with different families. What did I love most about this, or what were we focused on? We were beginning and forming the first challenge clubs of the upper or the northern states in Canada. It was thrilling to see all the girls and the moms who were so keen on growing in their faith and having their daughters involved in these clubs. We were training our club presidents. We were training and offering spiritual guidance to all our team leaders, these teenagers who desired to serve the Lord in this way. So for me, it was these trainings and these workshops and the retreats and the summer camps that just kept me so motivated and enthusiastic for my mission. So that was one of the main ones, that apostolates, that I loved. I also did this work when I was in Chile and when I was in California, in Sacramento. I did this. So this was one of the most the apostolates I was always most desiring. Then the other one would be when I worked in a school, and I would mainly say when I was in the Philippines. I was a formation instructor in one of our Regnum Christi schools in Manila called Everest Academy, and I worked with the elementary school children, mainly the girls, but also I helped out with the boys in what I could when the priests weren't available. So I had my office next to the 4th and 5th grade girls, and I had it all set up with pink cushions and cute blue chairs and a pretty sky blue rug and bulletin boards with pictures and all kinds of bright things and a jar full of candies and cool stuff that the girls could come in and play with. That was just part of it, the fun of decorating your office for kids. It was having the girls come in one-on-one for mentoring and having them share with you the little things about their lives, the struggles they were having groups of friends come in to talk about the fight that they're having, how they were so sad about another friend talking about them behind their back, having teens come in from the junior high to come and see me, to share with me struggles that they were having, that there was cyberbullying going on, having teachers come into my office to just unload complaints or frustrations or anything, because I was neutral ground for them. Also giving workshops, going into classrooms to do group dynamics. All of these different activities, for me, I think it fed me more than it fed the people I worked with, because it helped me become more compassionate, taught me to be more empathetic, a greater listener, and taught me a lot about myself, how to listen, to not be always thinking of what to say before the person's done, and that sometimes it's not what I'm going to advise them to do that's going to help. Sometimes they just need to talk. So So those would be the two main apostolates that helped me the most. And the beauty of them is that what I was dedicating myself to then, these are still apostolates that I can serve the Lord in still as a regular layperson in the world. Anybody can.
That's so beautiful. And it also is an amazing example of your heart, showing us what a serving person you are. And it's beautiful. We're very blessed to have you. So you've mentioned your brother a couple of times. For those of us, or for those of listeners that don't know who your brother is, why don't you tell us just briefly who your brother is?
Oh, okay. My brother is Father Todd Arsenault, who's been stationed here for about the last 6 years. He was one of the founders of the legionary community here in Oakville with Father Kenneth LeBlanc and a few other fathers. And he joined the Legion the same year I joined the consecrated life. We're just 2 years apart, so we've pretty much always done everything together. Yeah.
Wonderful. So it must have been a hard choice for you to leave the consecrated life. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what brought on that choice, and also why you chose Ontario?
I'd love to, Veronica. Actually, it was a very hard decision. I say it was one of the toughest in my life, and it was not one that I had wanted to make or even considered making. It was suggested to me to start rediscerning, if you can say it that way, my vocation in life, my state in life, due to some physical and personal struggles that were constantly coming up through the past 21 years while I was living in community, and those, especially the physical difficulties, it was like God speaking to me through my body, which he does often to many of us, and we need to listen to those signs, right? We need to read them. So I, with my director, my spiritual director, my confessor, we looked at those signs, and we saw that the Lord was leading me, eventually he was leading me home to an environment in which I was closer to my family, and where I was able to get some, the support and the help that I needed to heal from these struggles. So I think this is a part of everyone's daily life, right? We're constantly discerning where the Lord is leading us. So this isn't to say that if one is in a particular vocation in life, marriage, or being a student or priesthood, or that, we're having a struggle, well, I guess God's telling me to leave. No, it really takes a lot of discernment and prayer, and most often than not, there are ways to work with it and to overcome the struggles. But there are some times that you can't. You need to be able to, to make a pretty tough decision. So the Lord has blessed me with a lot of support from my family and from my brother, from the legionary community, from the consecrated women, especially my directors. And I'm very grateful to them. And I do believe that I am where he wants me to be. Why Ontario? Well, in particular Oakville, and not even Toronto, because the legionary community where my brother lives is here. So that is mainly why I had chose coming here, and because he's introduced me to so many wonderful families out here. So the RC community to me just seemed to be so alive. Even if some people might not feel like it is, I saw it from a different angle, coming from the Maritimes, where we don't have developed sections at all, and we're all alone, really, each person in their little corner, and trying to pull ourselves together. So here I have found a real family that has welcomed me, embraced me. I have a team. I go to encounters with Christ. I have holy hour. I'm able to get to retreats. This for me is a complete gift, and to be able to have opportunities for apostolate, to serve the Lord in different ways, and at the same time to have a full-time job. It's all a huge blessing, as difficult as it can be at times. Oakville is definitely where the Lord wants me at this moment.
That's beautiful. And you know what? It's a reminder to all of us to truly appreciate this blessing and this gift that we have here in Regnum Christi, Ontario. So just to close off, I want to hear all about your vision for the future, your vision for yourself here in Regnum Christi, Ontario. Where do you see yourself focusing your efforts, and how you're fulfilling your life as a lay person?
Yes, thank you for asking, Veronica. Actually, this is something I've been praying about every day and at all my masses. I envision myself, God willing, working full-time for the church, or for Regnum Christi if if there's some, really generous benefactor who wants to hire me, right? but for the Diocese of Hamilton, if that's what God allows. And I also envision myself offering much more time and service to the challenge clubs of Oakville, the challenge ones in particular, since we do not have a community of consecrated lay women to dedicate their time. I would hope to be able to train myself more as a mentor and a spiritual guide for the teens, for the team leaders, and to be able to work in the formation of the club moms and any mothers who are interested in receiving some type of formation. So I really see the role of formator of the woman here in Oakville, like beginning from the youngest to whatever age the Lord permits. That's where I'd like to sink my teeth in. And right now I'm also serving on the local committee, helping Veronica Tui, who is actually interviewing me, in the role of evangelization, which is a passion of mine, inviting others to get to know and discern this beautiful vocation to Regnum Christi. I think all of us can have many moments of renewal in this vocation. So it's always good, especially to listen to these types of conferences or talks, interviews, to renew our love and our passion and remind us why we believe the Lord called us to this movement as a path of holiness and our way to reach the Lord. So yes, I ask you all who are listening, I hope you're a lot, to pray for me, please, and pray for all young single women. I put myself in the young category, you notice? Young single women who are also still discerning their state in life. So that's really important, not to forget to pray for one another. Thank you.
That's so beautiful, Tawnya, and it is a pleasure to work with you in the evangelization position, as well as it's been a pleasure to interview you today. And I know Christian, my son, feels the same way, as I can hear him in the background giving his 2 cents. So thank you to all the listeners for tuning in today, and we'll talk to you soon in our next segment of Have You Met?